Hello again, fellow homesteaders. These are some sorting and matching games. These ones were store-bought, which inspired me to make some of my own. You get a lot of ideas like that. You see something in the store, maybe you bought it, somebody's given it to you, a present for the kids, and you think, well, I could do that, or why didn't I think of that before? And this is one of those activities. It was awesome. If you are having trouble making one, you decide you want one for a gift, you want to make some also. They have these on Amazon and Oriental Trader. They're not expensive, but you can make them yourselves and have the kids play a role in making it. If they're studying the topic, they can actually come up with some of the questions for their sorting. If you have kids that are probably 4th through 7th or 8th grade and have siblings around the same age, they would probably really like to try to stump each other, or even play a beat the grown-up sorting game to see if they can outsmart you. So you can do a lot of fun things with it. It works for any age level, even though it's a simple sorting concept. The set that I have, and I'm going to make some of these, see, it's just a magnetic paper. You can buy these any big box store or craft supply store, and a sheet of typical, 8 by 10 or 11, whatever copier paper is. It's probably $10 for a packet, and I think it has, it's been a while since I bought it, 3 to 5, I'm going to guess, sheets in it. So you can see by the size that these are, they're not even quite 3 fingers length. You won't be using up a ton of paper. This will probably be, except for maybe the doll making, if you're going to buy real doll skin and some other fancy materials, this will probably be the most expensive homemade game that you'll be making. Still cheaper than buying it, and you can personalize it. And what you would do is you get on your printer and use whatever program you use, and you just type in your question, and you can put a border on it or an icon or anything that you want, and you can line them up right on your page. You don't need any specially labeling software or anything like that. When you go to your print preview, it'll show you how it's going to look. And you just load your paper and you print it in there just like you normally would. You might want to do a page check if you're not sure how your printer does the flip, and there will be instructions on the packet telling you whether to put it in white side up or magnetic side up. And you want to make sure you're not wasting your paper or your ink, so you might want to do a test first. And so these are the initial sorting questions, and this is what they're trying to answer. And you can make smaller ones to actually do their classification with. And older children might like it to be termed classification instead of sorting. But they're color-coded, and you can do the same thing with colors or icons and keep them separated out in different baggies so you're not digging through 100 magnets every time you want to do an activity. So they're color-coded, and then you just go on ahead with whatever. I got all kinds of little magnets in here. And the living and non-living thing I thought might be kind of hard for a 3-year-old granddaughter. 3.5, but she actually loves that one. I just had to give her some parameters, and it really made her think, so I like the critical thinking aspect of it. You print off your pictures of whatever it is you want to use, your own pictures, ones you've gotten used from the internet. And I like how they did this. If you can take a look here and see, we have the same yellow around the classification tab as we do the question, as we do the animals or whatever that's on your picture. Some of these could be used for multiple sets, and it's okay to intermingle. That's something you might want to think about when you're setting yours up. But even with a 3-year-old, when I told her that living things eat and grow, she really got the concept. She struggled at first, and then she started realizing, because she likes to help garden, that plants do grow and they eat, they get nutrients from the soil. So that was a nice early age sorting set there with something as simple as that concept. And then we have some here where you're sorting wild animals from farm animals. And if you keep livestock on your farm, you might get some interesting questions, which shows that they're thinking. When you see wild turkey or deer, they're wild, but you see them on your farm. So when you're teaching this to little children, to give them a little bit of parameter there about domesticated and raising them. So some people raise turkeys, and there's wild turkeys. So you have the questions with what type of animal, and there's wildlife here, and there's another tab in here somewhere that says farm. And you just have them set out on the tray. And I like to put the question right in the middle. But you could do another. These are just from Dollar Tree cooking sheets. Yet another one, you could prop it up here. But I just put the question in the middle. And I put whatever classification is here. And some, like with the habitats, there's multiple. There's ocean, freshwater, Arctic, and forest. And this one's more at a 2nd to 3rd grade level. With looking at the picture, some could kind of go either way unless you have some background from whatever subject matter you're learning in a living book or a textbook. But you could do, 2 on a tray. You could just do it on your refrigerator if you want to. The kids like having their own little trays to sort. And these are great if you want a nice morning activity where the kids can work independently. You can just have their little basket out with their magnets. on whatever topic they're doing and have their trays sorted and ready to go. They sit down, they start working that all on their own, depending on their age. These aren't a choking hazard, they're big enough. You could probably do, I would say, at least 25 of these per sheet of the magnetic paper. And you could do it with Velcro backing, you could do it with felt. And we do a lot of activities. We read our other article about different things you can do with a felt board and how to make a felt board. But even though you're doing a similar activity, the variation in the different materials they're touching, different ways things are presented, kind of keeps things fresh and interesting if you're doing it all magnetic or all felt board. It's just like sitting around doing ditto sheets all day. So it gets a little bit monotonous. And this is great for a car travel game too. They're magnetic, you're not going to really lose anything. So you can take your homeschool on the road, or just your home sitting learning extension activities. These were also purchased, and I now have paint and drying on some to make some more. This says I swim, I walk, and I fly. And these little boxes here, you can actually get them, especially after Christmas or something, or Valentine's Day. They'll have them all clearance at your local Family Dollar, Dollar Tree type place. But you can buy a paper mache version for less than $1 at a big box store. You can just fold some cardboard and make your own. And that'll be a fun part for the kids to do, where they're helping make the boxes, doing the measuring, following directions, and then decorating. But this just has different little animals on a piece of paper that's kind of like cardboard. And on it you see the different animals, and you have to determine exactly how they move about, and you just sort them in the right box. So this is for a younger child, or preschool age, or maybe kindergarten. It's another fun morning, simple, quiet activity they can do on their own. And it does a nice extension, whatever that you're learning, that they're understanding about the different animals. And there's some tricky ones on here, birds that don't fly. But our youngest granddaughter is not old enough to really understand the concept yet, just like sorting them. At the 2-year-old age, they really like to sort. And if you simplify it with colors or shapes, or even numbers for 3-year-olds are still learning numbers or letters, you could do it with anything you wanted to do. You just get your boxes. If you didn't want to have to make a ton of boxes, but you could go ahead and use some wipe off magnetic strip on here, wipe off strip on here, and get kind of a whiteboard strip, or you could do it with chalkboard paint, or you could go ahead and paint the box all one color and put a piece of Velcro on it, and then just put a little tab on it to show what type of activity you're doing today with a label. So those are super simple to make. Those are really neat. I'm glad that we happened to cross those. But after they did a very good job with them, I started seeing other opportunities, and we're in the middle of making all different kinds of boxes for other kinds of sorting. This one is a neat puzzle, and it seemed overwhelming to the younger kids at first because some animals they were unfamiliar with. But it's not like you're having a huge puzzle in front of you. They're small ones. You can go ahead, and what I did was I sorted out the animals in one stack and the habitats in the other. Then they had to match them. Now these you can see fit together like puzzle pieces. I'm going to make these by just printing off on a sticky label a picture. And I think on some I might print them in black and white and let the children color them and then cover them with clear contact paper. But I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to print them off on a label and put them on a piece of cardboard that they have painted. Now this has a little, thing here to make it a puzzle. You don't have to do that. They could simply lay them next to each other and match. But making one simple puzzle piece instead of trying to create an entire puzzle is really not that hard. Take a utility knife or X-Acto knife once you have it together, and just make a little shape however you want to make it there. You've got a puzzle piece. So if your kids like puzzles, that makes it even more fun and interesting to them. The other thing you need to watch when you're making your own puzzle piece is that the one that you're cutting here is not going to match another one down here in the stack, or that can cause confusion. So you have to get a little bit creative. I would suggest drawing in pencil the shapes that you want to make your puzzle piece before you do any cutting, and then go back through and lay them next to each other one by one and review to make sure you didn't do the same type of shape twice. And then you have some homemade puzzle pieces. These are animals and where they live, but you could do these with upper and lowercase alphabets. You could do it matching the historic figure to something remember about them, George Washington with a cherry tree. You could do it different science concepts, and you can adapt them to make them more interesting to an upper elementary school child where they are trying to match maybe a math theory with a math problem. You can just get a little bit creative and think about what you're studying, and you can use it with vocabulary words, with a word and the definition, or the word and the definition and a third piece, and it has a wipe off board type material or chalkboard where they have to actually write it in a sentence, or spell the word out for younger kids. So there's tons of possibilities, and once you start thinking, perhaps inspired by store-bought items like we were, you can go ahead and modify them and personalize them to suit your own homeschool.